Everybody remembers this handsome devil, perhaps the most important character in all of Star Wars lore. This, of course, is Lobot, Lando Calrissian's buddy who saved the day on Cloud City. Now, you're probably wondering why I'm bringing him up, aside from the fact that I talk about Lobot to literally anyone who will listen at any hour of the day. It's because I've been trying to adopt the Lobot drip for most of my life, and you can see I've got my own headgear aside from having the same haircut. So I'm going to talk to you today about these guys. They're the Shokz OpenRun Pro headphones, and what I like about them, which is quite a lot, a couple things that I don't, and whether or not you should pick them up. Now, one of my primary hobbies is distance running, and if you live in an urban area, you may have realized that drivers on the road are not particularly invested in your continued survival. So that being the case, I question the wisdom of jamming earplugs in your ears and going out in the world to put your life in their hands. You see it all over the place. Most Bluetooth headphones have an earplug style where they go in and they do some isolation from the world. I've also had bad luck with earbud style wireless headphones because they don't fit my ears very well. I've got these kind of strange ear canals that I don't seem to retain heavy items very well, and I don't like spending $200 to find out whether or not something is going to fit, and I feel kind of weird sending back grotty used earbuds if I don't like them. So what's a runner who needs stimulation on their running to do? The solution that I've been using for the past year is these. These are the Shokz OpenRun Pro bone conduction headphones. I ran just about 2,000 miles last year. I've spent hundreds of hours, well over 300 hours, with these on my head, so I feel confident that I can tell you what's great about them. We'll talk about the sound quality, we'll talk about the fit, we'll talk about battery life, and we'll talk about the interface, because there's a lot to like here. Now, the way these work is really interesting. Instead of speakers jammed into your ear canals, they sit outside of your ears, just in front of your ear, and they rest kind of on your jawbone. And they use a combination of vibration into that jawbone and these kind of little projection speakers to project sound in a way that you can hear music, you can hear podcasts, you can hear audiobooks, while also having your ears 100% open to the world. It's a strange experience at first because the effect is very similar to a pair of headphones, but you're also able to hear the world at large. You can hear everything because your ears are wide open. It forces your brain to kind of tune in different ways, but you can absolutely hear whatever's going on around you at the same time as the thing that you're listening to, which is amazing. Now, the first and most obvious question with a device like this is, how do they sound? How good can they sound? And there's good news and there's bad news on that front. Now, if you're really into podcasts, if you're really into audiobooks, NPR, talk radio, that kind of thing, these are amazing. I usually listen to podcasts on my runs, and they sound terrific. They do a great job with mids and highs. Voices sound really clear, well-produced podcasts, and I think well-produced podcasts should be the theme of 2023. Sound great. People with really resonant voices, I'm thinking like a Kai Ryssdal on Make Me Smart, sound like they're in your ears. They sound tremendous. The only time it can be a problem is if you're listening to an interview on, say, NPR, and they're interviewing someone who's on a phone that kind of is in like a higher register just because they're coming through tin-ear. They're probably using a crappy pair of earbuds for the interview, which they shouldn't do. They can be a little bit harder to hear, but there's not much that NPR can do about that, nor the Shokz. The sound quality for spoken word audio is generally great. Music is a little bit of a different story. There is very little bass, really zero bass to speak of when you listen to music on these guys. There's very much an AM radio kind of sound quality. It almost sounds like you're listening to music through like a car with the windows rolled up from the outside, right? There's just a real cutoff at a certain level in the audio where there's no lows, like at all, zero lows. But it's fine for a run. You're not, hopefully on a run, expecting to be able to listen to music at full volume, with full amplitude and with full bass, because that would probably make it so that you couldn't hear the rest of the world. So if you keep your expectations in check, you'll be fine with it, but don't expect these to sound as good as even the cheapest wireless in-ear buds. The lack of isolation just makes bass very hard for these to pull off. But to be honest, that's completely okay, because the upside of wearing these is massive. So unlike some earbuds that try to use algorithms and microphones to bring in outside audio into the sound stream, you're actually hearing what's there. You're hearing real life at real volume. You can wear them if you're running with friends and have conversations even while you've got music playing. You can wear them in the middle of a high traffic area and never have to worry about a car sneaking up on you, because you can hear just as well with them as you would without them. And that makes me feel, as a longtime runner, so much safer than I ever did when I had in-ear earbuds. And I always kind of had to worry a little bit and keep a watch out just to make sure nobody was coming up behind me that I couldn't hear, especially with electric cars being so quiet anyway. Now, the OpenRun Pros do get plenty loud for most purposes, but if you're in a very loud or very active space in an urban area, it can sometimes be a little difficult to hear. If a car goes right by you, these just aren't going to get loud enough to overcome the sound of that vehicle. But again, that's probably the time you need to be hearing the world the most, so I don't hold that against them either. Now, in terms of comfort, these are terrific. They feel like you're wearing nothing at all. The weight is very reasonable. They're about 29 grams, which is just about an ounce. They weigh practically nothing. They're super comfortable on my head, and I have kind of a gigantic cranium, so a lot of times things that go around your head feel kind of tight. Headphones sometimes will feel kind of tight for me. They never fall off. They've never fallen off. They never move. They're super stable, which is great if you're running, you're doing bouncing, whatever exercise you're doing. I think there's very little likelihood these are going to fall off. They're very well engineered. They've got a great grip. They've got kind of a wire that keeps some tension on them. But you never have to worry about them coming off because they're very well made and they are very snug, but appropriately so. They feel very good. Given their tiny size, battery life is surprisingly great. I suspect that's because they don't have to drive very large speakers, but I use them for about an hour a day most weekdays, and then for a couple of hours on a long run on Saturday, and I've never run out of battery in the middle of a run, ever. I charge them in full about once a week, and I might top them off one other day, but that's just for my own comfort. The battery life is really adequate for just about any reasonable use. If you're, say, an ultra marathoner, you definitely want to charge them fully before even a very long run, but I bet they'd be fine for all but the most extreme circumstances. And in those cases, you're probably worried about batteries for your watch or whatever. The manufacturer claims about 10 hours, and that gels pretty well with what I get out of a full charge. And I've never had any complaints at all about that. One thing that's kind of cool, when you turn them on, you get a vocal prompt, I'm a very friendly sounding person, saying the level of charge, and that's a high, medium, low, or it's critical, like time to charge. And so every time you use them, you get kind of a little reminder that, you know, they're getting lower and you should pay attention, which is just a nice feature. So in the way of controls, they're pretty simple. They have a volume rocker and power button, combination power button down here on the bottom, and that sits just above your ear right here. And so it's very easy to control volume. There is a magnetic charging port right here and a magnetic cable that snaps on. It is a super proprietary cable, which I don't love. I suspect that is because they didn't want to kind of make room inside for a USB-C connector, or maybe it was for waterproofing, I'm not sure. But that kind of stinks. I wish the athletic device industry could settle on a cable standard, because I've got this super specific cable that is kind of easy to misplace. That's why I have a piece of tape around it. Anyway, as long as you hang on to the cable, you won't have any problems that way. As far as water resistance, they are IP55 water and dust resistant. So they're going to be fine in the rain. They're going to be fine in sweat. I don't think you'd want to go cave diving in these. They're not waterproof, but I've worn them in heavy rain. I've worn them in very sweaty conditions, and they're like new. Just don't lose this stupid little cable. Probably the biggest beef I have in day-to-day use with these is this little button right here that sits on your left ear, right here. It's really the only control you have aside from volume, and I wish it worked a little more clearly and reliably. It has a couple of different modes, which is always a challenge when you've got a single button. Pressing it once will toggle play and pause on your device, which makes sense. Pressing it twice will skip to the next track, and then you can hold it down to summon the assistant of choice on your phone. The complaint I have is that when you're running, the button is not the best click feel, and so it can sometimes be a little hard to depress. And the bigger problem, frankly, is that the double tap speed, I just sometimes have a hard time getting it right, and you don't really get an audio confirmation that you've double tapped. So I've had times when I've double tapped to go to a next podcast or next song. I thought that I'd pressed twice. It had only registered once, and I just paused my music. I wish that it gave you a little more audio feedback about the what you pressed and how what mode you've pressed it into. It's a small thing. I've gotten used to it, but it is a little refinement that would be really nice. There's also a smartphone app that lets you do things like change the EQ. There's only a standard and a voice, so it's very simple, but you wouldn't expect a huge dynamic range difference in a device like this. You can upgrade firmware. It does multi-point pairing, which is really cool. I have it also paired with my watch, and that can sometimes be a little fiddly, but I don't think that's the fault of these. I think that's more of a watch thing. But it does what it's supposed to do. It hops from device to device, and it usually does the right thing, so I don't have any complaints that way. The app is pretty simple, but it's nicely designed. It works well, and I have no complaints about it. In terms of what comes with the device, you get this pretty sweet little travel case. That is a great place to keep the fiddly little cable, and has indentations for the headphones. It feels nice, feels premium. It's a great companion because these feel nice and tough, but I could see if you put them in a bag and they got knocked around too much, it might misshape them. This is nice and small. We'll make sure to protect them. That said, they don't need a lot of protection. I've worn them for hundreds of hours now, and they are practically brand new. Battery life has shown no sign of waning, which is kind of surprising to me. The wire in the head strap is nice and taut. It feels just like it did the day I took them out of the box. And there's a 2-year warranty, which is kind of incredible. So I feel very comfortable recommending these on that front. I've put them through their paces. I've worn them a lot, and they're practically like new. They also work as a standard Bluetooth headset, so you can take phone calls with them. You've got a little microphone here, and it actually sounds fine, even though it is back next to your ear. The quality is just fine. Here's a little sample from the mic. This is the microphone on the Shokz OpenRun Pro. As you can see, they're fine. They're completely adequate for your basic phone calls. They don't sound any worse than any other in-ear Bluetooth headphone sounds, and they're extremely light and out of your face. They don't sound any worse than any other Bluetooth in-ear wireless headphones, and maybe even a little better than average, so points to them. I gotta tell you, I don't think that sounds bad at all. I think it's completely adequate for a device like this. They have another model with a little boom mic that sticks out, which is probably a better sound, but this sounds completely fine. If you are in an office all day, you might like the boom model, but I have no complaints about these. I've taken calls on runs before, which I don't recommend. That's a pretty cruddy experience, just a cruddy life experience, but the headset worked just fine. The other X factor with these is, what you think of the aesthetic. Everyone's really become used to having the kind of the ear stems coming out of your ears, the white stems or ear plugs, kind of black ear plugs in your ears. We're all kind of used to that. These look a little different because they sit in front of your ears. Sometimes you'll kind of see people kind of doing a double take at you. I think they look pretty cool. I always feel pretty cool when I'm walking around the Costco with them on because, I like that they're a little different, and I like that they're blue. There are a couple of different colors. There's a red and I think a black, but I kind of like this blue. I have a pretty big head. The Pros fit me fine. They do have a Pro Mini, so if you have a normal size cranium, you might want to think about the Mini. They have measurements on the website. I kind of like that they look a little different. I don't really like things sticking in my ears anyway, and there's something to be said for not having the same thing that everyone else has. So those are the Shokz OpenRun Pros. I don't know why they're called Pro. There is another model of OpenRun that is a little cheaper, and I think the sound quality is a little bit less. I don't like this use of the term pro for things that aren't really professional, but whatever. That's a different conversation for a different time. If you spend time outside, if you spend time in an office and don't want to plug your ears up, I recommend giving these a look. I think they're really terrific. I think the company seems pretty cool. It's nice to see something really thoughtfully and purposely built for convenience and runner safety. I think it's a fair price for what you're getting, and they seem like they're holding up very well. And I really like them a lot. Thanks so much for watching the video. I just want to say I paid for these. This isn't promotional or whatever. I'm just doing this because it's fun, because I think it's cool. So if you like this review, give me a like, give me a subscribe, give me a whatever. I will keep coming back with more stuff. But let me know what you'd like to know in the comments. If there's anything I missed, I'm happy to answer questions. And thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.